packagingpastor.com, packaging fashion. Looks like you got 5 hot dogs on your shirt there. What is that?
This is a fist. It's not
Fish. All right, got it.
no a fist. It's
The
a hot
fifth.
dog shirt. By the way, I don't know if you guys watched. There is a theme in our
I'm just
world.
laughing that Corey's laughed.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that hit me right in the right spot today. Thank you,
Right
Valio.
here,
I needed
right
that.
here in the heart. It hits you right in the heart. So
Right in the hot dogs.
we like to always talk about how things are older or better. But I will say there are some really funny Saturday Night Live skits that are
Yes.
currently happening. And
Oh.
the episode on Saturday with Nate Bargatze
Yes.
is hilarious. And there's a skit. It's the second
like
one they've
him.
done this, where it's like he's George Washington talking about how they're going to fight this battle
Yeah.
so they can revolutionize the American language.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious.
So they did a second one on Saturday, and one of them he's like cows will be called beef and pigs will be called pork. And then he's like, what about chickens? He's like, they'll stay the same. He's like, but fear not, hot dogs will not be made from actual dogs. And this guy's like, but sir, what will hot dogs be made from? He's like, get out of the boat. Just get out. Just throw yourself overboard. He's like, it's un-American to question what hot dogs are made from.
You can't question that. That's true.
No. But Kenan Thompson was awesome in that.
He's good. He's better.
Like for all men, right? It's like,
For all men.
no.
That's what
Right.
he's like, at the end of this war, sir, you're saying that we'll be free for all men? He's like, at the end of a war. Yes, at the end of a war.
Kenan's hilarious.
He's been on there for 38 years.
Dude, I think he
really?
made what was that hamburger movie, and then he was on.
Well,
Oh,
he did Kenan and Kel on Nickelodeon, and then he did the Good Burger. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take you? And then he went to SNL. He's been on there for a long time,
dude, forever. He's awesome. It's hilarious. Right, so let's get to some packaging.
Yeah,
sure. Well, you started off with my hot dog shirt, so
yeah. So packaging. What do we got? This article came across my desk. Charlie's back, and he handed this to me. There are British food firms that are lobbying to defer $1.7 billion in plastic packaging tax. Why would these companies be against a plastic packaging tax?
Wait, hold on a second. Avelio, are you saying that there are businesses who are lobbying against paying more in taxes?
Yeah, I can't believe it.
Stop the presses, everybody. Holy cow. Can you imagine a world in which businesses don't want to pay more in taxes?
But it's probably not the businesses. It's the lobbyists that they hire, right? Are they being
lobbyists to do a thing, right? They're not just
are they being public about this is us fighting against this, or are they being normal and hiding behind somebody that's a lobbyist?
Probably probably the latter. I don't know.
Yeah,
because like it says new fees for the new scheme, which are the EPR scheme. It aims to improve recycling rates and tackle plastic pollution, but they've already been delayed by the last Tory government. I don't even know. They have a Tory spelling. I don't know.
No, they have a new
the Whigs and the Tories.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's even a
so. As somebody who is just recently there, I can speak to this because I know I was there.
Jolly good.
I was there for 4 days, so I know stuff about London and England.
The charge up to 605 pounds per ton, but I don't know what was it before? If they're up to $605 pounds a ton.
Yeah.
What is, I know for here in the US, it used to be it was like nothing. It was under $100. So I don't even know what it is today here in the US.
And why
EPR tax
pounds and tons?
Just
pounds per pounds would be way easier, don't you think?
Right.
Pounds per pounds.
Yeah. But I don't know. But the question then is, if we're seeing this happening, and we're seeing this happen in the UK, where they're Europe is really pushing for a lot of the sustainability new taxes, new laws, new plastic bans, and they're getting pushed back pretty heavily there. What's going to happen here? Well, we're just starting to figure it out, right? You mentioned Corey. We've got one PRO.
Yeah.
What's a PRO?
So it's a producer responsibility organization, and ours is called the Circular Action Alliance. That's the only one we have so far in 5 U.S. states that have chosen one. Now that isn't permanent. There may be others added in the future, and there are others forming. But for now, we have one organization that is supposed to handle this for the USA. For a contrasting statement, England has 30 PROs, and these PROs handle different things. That I just learned this recently. They handle, one will handle clothing, one will handle corrugated, one will, they handle different materials, which I think is interesting because a lot of the job of a PRO is to set up new recycling systems, new circular, ways of handling the material to make sure it gets back into what it used to be.
Do they have one for cardboard?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I don't like that one. Not as fun. I only like cork.
Are
Yes.
you sure we only have one in the U.S.? I swear we had more.
To my knowledge, there's the Circular Action Alliance is the only PRO that has been chosen for any of the current EPR laws.
But they
Now,
don't cover every state.
No, they don't. There's only 5 that have actual laws that are in effect or scheduled to be in effect.
But they don't cover all 5 of those states, do they?
Yes. To my knowledge, yes. Yeah. Oregon, Maine, Washington, California.
Colorado?
Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado uses the CAA. I know that because I'm wearing a Denver Nuggets hat. I've spent more time in Colorado than you've spent
in a hot dog shirt.
Yeah. Do they like hot dogs?
Yes. Colorado's a big fan. Big fan of Seth. Tough. Thanks, Seth. I just want to say thank you so much for being so brave to come on this morning after your Volunteers had a difficult football game loss. But at least you're not an Alabama fan. Like, I don't even how does that work? Because like you're rooting against Alabama. I don't know how these things work because my football team is terrible. Avelio, how did your football team do this weekend?
They did really well. They did very well, actually.
Did they kick any goals?
They scored 3 hole-in-ones. It was awesome.
5 baskets.
A little bit.
That's incredible. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
The Oregon State Beavers won, so that's a big deal.
Against who?
Michigan, Colorado State.
Denver Hot Dogs.
Yes, the Colorado State University, the Harvard of the Rockies. They lost in double overtime and totally blew the game in Corvallis, Oregon. Not that I watched the whole thing.
I did. It was awesome.
Sorry, terrible. Terrible. Yeah, sorry, Seth. I didn't mean to bring it up, but it had to be done. It had to be done.
Yeah. Seth, what do you got? You got any questions out there for packaging? What are you doing? Tell us what you're doing, man.
Seth does, I believe, still digital print onto corrugated. Is I believe is what Seth does. So let's go back. I want to go back to this topic of what's happening in London, and also I think if it's going to happen there, and it's going to be more sort of like pro business, like Lord Business from the Lego movie. It's only it. I've just been waiting. I've been waiting for this to happen here in the US, where the laws are going to get passed and then there's going to be all this work. But then surely there are going to be companies who are going to swoop in and say, all right, enough's enough. Like and that's actually, it's not a bad thing, in my opinion, to have debate and to have people that are trying to do the right thing for their companies, for their customers. And then we have government oversight that's like, yeah, but we also have a responsibility, a common responsibility to help make sure we're leaving a lower impact, right? Businesses aren't going to be
Yeah.
able to. So I like the tension,
Mhm.
and I think we're going to start to see more and more of it. This is my speculation. Is like 2026 when the laws really start to get going, we'll
Yeah.
probably see more pushback. Aveli, wasn't it you who told us that like Disneyland in France, or maybe it was you, Corey, like almost had to shut down because of a plastic ban, and they couldn't bring in like pallets because of the stretch film on them or something like that? Did I just have a dream about that? 'Cause sometimes I dream about packaging.
That sounds right. But no, they tried it in France. They tried to ban single-use plastic, and it failed miserably because it's not possible yet. I think we need to understand that as a group of packaging professionals listening to this show. It's not feasible. You can't just stop. You can't just immediately turn the valve off because people will starve. They've done studies that people in far-reaching areas that can't grow their own food, they need food delivered to them. They need shelf-stable milks and vegetables, things that soups that can be consumed to provide nourishment for them. This is again, sustainability comes back to health. People will starve. It's a really important point that we talk about that.
Well, and even think about what's happening with, like hurricane relief in
Hmm.
areas like North Carolina that have just been devastated. And as hard as it is to say, like we need single-use plastic to deliver supplies, medical supplies, food supplies,
Yeah.
bottles of water, and so on and so forth, in order for people to live in these situations. Like
Yeah.
we can't just demonize single-use plastics, and so there is a part of me that's like, I'm glad that there are people who are like, this is actually not great for what we are doing. And then contrast that also with what I got to do up at Climate Week on Burlington Island. And almost all you see washing up on shore of this island is plastics.
Hmm.
That's it. That's almost it. It was a lot of EPS foam and a lot of plastics that are just float because they're lightweight. All the things that make them good, they're lightweight. They have great barrier properties. They're not going to break down in water. Turns out when those things get in the water, they're going to float to
They
the
don't break
top.
down.
They're not going to break down,
Yeah.
Right.
and they're just going to live there. So it's like I think there's just a real tension that we're going to have to keep working through for quite a while as we see population growth. Because the answer can't be, well, just let people die. That's and at the end
Right.
of it, sometimes like that's where unfortunately people get to is just like, well, I guess the I guess we're just going to have to deal with the consequences. It's like, are you saying what I think you're saying? Because I don't
Yeah,
think.
we need to make the alternative so easy to use and so easy to buy and less and cost neutral
But
to make
easy
make
to
these
dispose of.
options. Yeah,
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 dispose of,
exactly.
right.
Right.
That's the challenge, right?
Yes.
Um,
Like, I got
yeah.
really excited. I got really excited when I saw sorry, Villa, you're not allowed to talk on this show. I got when when President Biden announced this, like, a massive investment into hydrogen, a friend of
Mhm.
mine, Phil Clark, he's like, works at NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab, and he specializes in hydrogen, and he's a smart dude, and he reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I found this guy that is converting plastics into clean hydrogen and graphene." And I had both of them on my podcast, and I was like, "This is amazing." Like,
Mhm.
you can take plastics and turn it into building materials. You can use it
Mhm.
for making cars, and then you can also sell off clean burning hydrogen. I get excited about this kind of stuff, and then it's like, well, what happens to it?
Yeah.
Right.
Where does it all go? Because it seems like these cool innovations either don't get the funding they need, or they're not scalable, or I don't know, but I hear about all these cool things, and it's like, well, what happened?
Right.
Is he still around?
Yeah, as far as I know, but I
It's kinda
haven't.
like that guy that got, car engine to run on water and then,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
the myth,
No, it's not
I
true.
don't know, the fake news. I don't know.
Not
Fake
true. Whatever you're
news.
gonna say is not true.
So, all right, so the next thing I would like I don't know, I have a serious question here, which is there's an article in Popular Science. I'll share the link. Seth, I also shared the link to the other article. There's an article on Popular Science, and it says, seriously, stop microwaving your food in plastic because we're exposing ourselves to a chemical soup. This is from September 22nd on popsci.com. And we've had so many people on. We've talked about plastics a million times. None of us are pro plastic or anti. It's, if there's an appropriate
Hang on,
application
I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Just you guys keep talking.
It's gonna be a part of this. But I don't know, like in this article, it just talks about how, when you microwave plastic, it releases these different chemicals, like, the BPAs and stuff like that. But they've been illegal for a while, right?
I have this award, so I'm just saying
You're almost an expert.
I'm basically a pro. I have an award from Plastics News.
Oh, goodness.
Or are you a paid mouthpiece for plastic?
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
I refuse to answer that question. I will just say that Big Plastic has no part of my bank account, and that everyone needs to go out and buy clean PET. Clean PET.
Little yellow, different.
Clean, clear PET.
It's like people only say things if they get paid,
I love that quote so much. Oh, anyway, sorry.
But it just, we've heard it a million times that if you heat up food in plastics, you're releasing plastics into your food and chemicals into your food. I just had someone that I offered a plastic bottle of water to because it was 115 degrees here in Arizona, and that's what I had. I had my own reusable water bottle, but they were thirsty. I'm not going to give them my straw connected bottle and be like, here, have some. No, I had the cooler with some plastic bottles, and I offered it to them, and they said, no, there's plastic in that water.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean there's plastic in this water? There's plastic in, the plastic from the water bottle leaches into the water itself, and I'm not drinking plastic. I said, that's fine. But like, that's not really the way it works.
I don't think so.
Right? It's not,
I believe what they think is, and what I've heard, I just visited a museum in Chicago about this. They had a whole thing about it. It was really impressive. Highly recommend checking it out. But they found microplastics in the water in plastic water bottles, and in like 93% of the bottles they tested. So I think they're everywhere. It's almost impossible to avoid them.
Yeah, but is the plastic from the bottle, or is the plastic already in the water because it's in our system?
I think it's in the water. Yeah, I think it's just in there.
Because I just saw someone on social saying, don't buy plastic water bottles. If you've got to buy water, buy it in cans. Now, what is the water in a can coming in contact with?
It ain't raw dog in the aluminum. We know that much.
It's plastic. So what the hell's the difference?
Well, it's infinitely recyclable in aluminum, right, Adam? Here we go again.
And sometimes you just gotta rise up in your seat and you gotta make a point to the people. What I'm saying. Yeah, I mean it's all, and then it's like, well, what happens if the microplastics are leaching in from the BPA free plastic liner on the plastic condom that's on the inside of the aluminum cans? What happens if it gets through that? Then you have aluminium in your water, and that's also not good. So yeah, I mean it is I don't know. And to be fair, and this is going to make me sound like our friend Chris, have we actually seen a study, and maybe they exist, maybe they don't, that says, it's the crazy thing, microplastics are bad for you? I happen, like, my general feeling is like they probably are. I'm not just like swimming.
We are not like pro plastic? You
No.
know, I'm just
No, I'm
No.
not,
We're not
unless you're
pro
buying
material.
clean PET from the maker. Yeah, we're not pro plastic. I'm just like,
As you're
where
talking, I'm like, are you big plastic? Did big plastic just buy you? What happened?
no, but I am. I do think
Macro,
it's an
Adam.
interesting idea,
Yeah.
right? Like it's because it's worth saying just because something is there, like is it in fact bad or is it just neutral? Like does our body we take in toxins all the time. If we've seen like the food that we eat, like are we
Yeah.
this is not natural food. I mean, I
I
eat
think there's
Pop-Tarts.
studies on
That's
that.
not
Yeah, I
grown,
think
not grown on trees. So like we take processed sugars, we do all this stuff, and then we're told like either this is good, this is bad, or your body just processes it and it turns into crap at the end of the day. Which when you're done, use dude wipes. Dude wipes are for the people. For all dudes. Dude wipes. Can you imagine if our show was like this? We were just like the NASCAR version of packaging today.
Oh my
Like
God.
we had to weave in 100 sponsors on the show. That'd be a lot of fun. But I just don't know. It's just a question that I have, and maybe there are studies, and I've not seen
We
them.
need
But
to get a scientist on or something like that that has done third party, neutral studies, not somebody
That's
that's
the hard
paid
part.
by the plastic industry like your buddy Chris, or not somebody that's paid by the other side, or we need somebody that really knows this stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's the crazy part. Right? I think it's just it's finding an actual neutral study that isn't leaning one way or another for a specific reason. Right when we get to some of these things, Chris just shared something from UCSF. We'll have to take a look at that. How to limit microplastic dangers. Definitely something to look at. But as we start wrapping
Thanks,
up here,
Chris.
yeah, thank you,
thanks,
Chris,
Chris.
always for sharing good stuff. Kevin, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Kevin.
What makes it clean?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
it's the PET has not
Yeah.
been exposed to both meat and cheese at the same time, so it is in fact kosher.
Perfect.
Targeted.
Hey, so before we started recording, Adam, you mentioned there was this interesting law happening in Oklahoma, which I thought from a business standpoint makes a lot of sense.
I'm out of here.
What was that? What
All right,
was that?
it's an insane thing, but I think it actually points to the connection between like business and politics. So this
Yeah.
is where
Yes.
it came up, is we were talking about the impact that politicians can have on writing laws such that those laws are favorable to a particular business unit. And so the case study is there is a law that's been passed in the state of Oklahoma that every public school needs to have a Bible in it, right? So this law was passed, and they have to like go buy them. And so somebody has to set the parameters around, well, what type of Bible are we going to have in the schools? And it turned out that the parameters they set, which was like, it has to be a King James version, it has to have, it's like the Declaration of Independence in it, it has to have all these like American historical things, which, by the way, I don't mean to get like super religious here, but
American
we're not
historical things in the Bible, right?
we're not
Okay.
around in the times of the ancient Hebrews, who were the ones authoring the Bible. But that's neither here nor there. They set all these things up and such that there are two Bibles. There's a lot of Bibles in print, various versions of them. There are two. There is the Lee Greenwood Bible, and there is the Donald Trump Bible. Those are the only two that can put in bids for this government contract. And so the point isn't like, let's talk about Donald Trump or the election or anything. The point is that there are ways in which companies can sort of game the system. And so when we look at it, and I'm not having one PRO, right, and to govern all of the United States, I think they're probably really great people. I've spoken to a couple people at the CAA. They seem like they're awesome, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's probably a good idea to have multiple people governing, because when we have a larger group, then there can be accountability. And you can't have a situation where there's a law that's passed and then essentially one business is going to get all of the money because of the law that's passed.
Yeah.
Like we want to avoid that at all costs. I feel like I had to really dance around that one, Avelio.
You really got around that pretty good.
Well done, Adam. Well done.
I thank my fist of hot dogs for helping me out.
Yeah, and that and that brings up like one of the best marketing campaigns I've seen in a long time, which was I don't know if you guys saw this. If you watch the fights that happened, the UFC fights that happened at the Sphere in Vegas, there's advertising by a company called it's a political tracker, and the campaign was invest like a politician. So the ring, everything had like invest like a politician, and it had links, back to it. They had a Nancy Pelosi lookalike in the front row. That all these things, and the reason is, Nancy Pelosi makes, these politicians, not just her, they track all of them. They're making like 120, 150,000 a year, yet they're worth like hundreds of millions of dollars. And like they track their stock trades. And it's like, oh, last month they put $50,000 into this one random stock over here, and they give you what it is. And like you can follow and track their stocks, invest just like them. And then like 3 months later, it's exploded because of legislation that's passed in their state. And it's like, a big part of this is like, how do we stop this? Which is kind of the same thing that we're talking about here.
Right.
And the app's called
We're all being manipulated. Yeah.
It's crazy, but it was a great campaign.
Like I don't know many politicians who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but they are worth there are some, but there are politicians who are worth disproportionately more than their salary would. Oh. But hundreds of millions that's a lot of money.
Let's see,
Avelio. I'm fact checking. I thought you said there'd be no fact checking here.
Yeah, there's no fact checking. What are you talking about? Let's see. I'm just pulling this up here really quick before we go.
Can't wait.
Yeah, Pelosi's like 230 million. That's hundreds of millions. No
way.
That is. I can fact check what Avelio's with his math. I can. That's hundreds of millions.
Yeah, she's got 25 million in Apple and 50 million in Microsoft, and yeah.
Huh.
And she's just one, right? Whether you like her, whether you love her or hate her, I don't know. I don't care. She's just one of them, and it's on both sides. And they had the opportunity to vote against politicians.
How is Nancy Pelosi worth more money than Mitt Romney? That is nuts to me. Okay, sorry. This is not the political talk show, but still. Now I'm down a rabbit hole. Thanks a lot, Avelio. My day is ruined.
It was a great ad. It was a great marketing piece to draw attention to this. So again, same thing. Whether it's PROs, whether it's a Trump Bible, it doesn't matter. You got to have some accountability, right? We can pass all these laws in California that makes plastic bags illegal, and now you've got to pay for, your 10 cents for a paper plastic bag. Like, where's that money going? Is there a PRO that's, are there more than just one PRO? We need more of them to have accountability. Otherwise, we're creating a monopoly, and it doesn't necessarily help.
Time to mute the mics. I agree, Chris.
All right, we agree.
Well, one industry to follow though, and to see where is actually cannabis, and to follow the cannabis industry, I think the recycling infrastructure. I hate that we call them schemes. That seems like such a bad. It seems like bad marketing. Whoever did the Nancy Pelosi invest like a politician marketing.
Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with